quickly go over the kit. So as you know, the kit has the controller. This is my Blueghost controller. I bought it from Next Level Neo. He built me the box. It comes with a 5-volt inverter. This is the 5-volt version. So obviously, all current that's coming from the battery on our cars are 12-volt. So this converts the 12-volt to 5 volts, and power the LEDs because all the LEDs are 5-volt. And then yeah, if you want the 12-volt option, that option is only for if you have 12-volt LEDs. The LEDs I offer are 5-volt LEDs, so that's why this comes with an inverter. Controller has 2 leads. Red, ground. Red is for the power on the battery. Ground is for the ground on battery. You remove the two 10mm bolts on your battery and slide this over. Slide this ring terminal over, respectively. Obviously, red is power, black is ground. I'll throw up a picture showing you how does that look. Then it has 2 connectors. This is the longest, this is the shortest one. So the shortest one goes to the passenger. As you know, the battery's on the passenger side of the car, so the shortest connectors will go to the passenger. The longest one is a driver, and this goes all the way to the driver's side because the driver headlight is the furthest away. So that's the controller. Next, we have the receiving connectors. That looks like this is the driver, and the one that looks like this is the passenger. Real quick, like I said, 5-pin. This plugs into the controller that I just showed you, because this is going to be mounted inside your headlight, coming outside, obviously. So this is your turn signals. It has a posi tap at the end. This will reach down all the way to your bumper lights. Your bumper lights have 2 wires, right? The wire coming directly out of your rectangular bumper lights is red and black. The red is power. Thus, we're going to use this posi tap to tap into the power. If you don't know how to use a posi tap, look that up. It's pretty simple how to use, mad easy. And this is gonna bolt up or connect to the 3-wire from the JC inside the headlight. I'll show you how that looks as well. This is the passenger side connector, exactly the same thing. Only thing is different is it has a tap for your DRLs. So I'll show you exactly where this taps on your headlight as well. Same thing, it has posi taps, super easy to connect. Like I said, I'll show you everything. Same thing, this connects to the JC coming outside your headlights from inside, because this is going to be hanging outside, like I said, connect to the controller. And then we have the same thing, the same turn signals that I already explained how you tap that. Next, it would come with 2 JST connectors, female. It's going to be a little bit longer than this. I didn't have time to make a long one, but in the kit, it'll come with a long one. And like I said, at the end of this video, you'll see how everything connects. You'll have 2 of these. And then lastly, you will have, these are grommets. So this is what you'll be using to channel wires from inside headlight to outside the headlight. This is an example. This is a Q50 headlight housing, obviously. You need to drill a 1/4-inch hole. Essentially, the hole has to be the size of this. So how this works is the grommet. This is the grommet. You know, unscrew the base, which is this. So you unscrew that, put that aside, put that aside. And this is what your hole needs to be the size of. And then you're gonna feed this in here like that. Like that. So from the back, it's gonna look like this. And then you're gonna take the opposing side and screw it on. Then you're gonna take this and screw it there tight. This is how it looks after. Now you have a channel that you can channel wires from inside. This is a compression, I don't know what you call it. Essentially, the wire is going to be fed through here. And I don't include it in the kit, but I use a sleeve. I forget what it's called. It's escaping me, but you'll see it at the end of the video. I said I put the wires in the sleeve and then feed that through here. So when I tighten this, it makes a good seal from outside. And like I said, you'll see everything, but this is how it's going to look when it's in your headlight. Like I said, you need a 1/4-inch hole, I believe, the same size as this. Same size as this. And it should be straight. Now it moves on to the LED. So if you choose LED to be outfitted in, you have options of choosing for the eyebrow and crescent. So this comes as a pair. You can get 2 of these and 2 of these. This is for the eyebrows and this is for the crescent. Okay, an example of how you mount your LEDs. You can mount it anyway, just as long as it's behind the eyebrow. You're gonna want to drill a hole here using a drill bit. I have a ultrasonic cutter, so that's why I was able to drill it to make this hole. One hole here, so the LED strip can fit. I have the LED strip sitting down here, so it kind of illuminates the boomerang on the eyebrow. So yeah, that way, let the LED sit. Make sure that the arrows are pointing to the back of the headlight. This indicates where the LED flows, so it's going to flow this way. So make sure you do that. That's essential. So with that being said, this side is the input, as you can see. This side is the input. This is the input, and then outside is the output. So that's the eyebrows. As for the crescents, I already mounted it, and I'm kind of lazy to take this everything off. But the crescents, I'll throw a picture right now how the crescent looks, how it should be mounted. Crescent, LEDs is in there. This part is the input, and then the outside is the output, as you can see. That lead us into the halos. So if you offer halos, when you install your halos, this is how the halos is gonna look. How I mount mine, the halos comes with a double-sided tape. All the LEDs come with a double-sided tape at the back that you paste. That's how I paste the crescents and the eyebrow. So the halos has a double-sided tape. I paste it on the housing, and then I drill. Before you even do that, I drill 3 holes. One here, and one here. So again, one under here, one inside, and one here. These points are strategic because they won't be seen on the headlights. This side is inside the headlights. Under here is way too low for you to see the hole, and this side is covered up by the eyebrow. So you'll never see where the holes are, and then I run fishing wire for reassure and readjust, for reinforcement. So the double-sided tape and the fishing wire is a good solution to secure the halos on the housing. So how the halos should be mounted is this black wire is the input. So the input should always be on the inside. And then this wire is the output. So the output should always be on the outside. As you can see, once everything is mounted, you can just bend this a little bit here. So it's out of the way and not hovering over the crescent. And that should cover all the LED components. I won't go over the demon eyes in this video, maybe another video. But yeah, so that's the whole LED component. Now let's go over to how everything is assembled and situated inside the headlight. All right, so now we're gonna feed the female JST through this. Now this is your input. So this is gonna plug into the input of the eyebrow. So let's. Okay, now the input of the crescent is plugged in the output of the input of the halo. Sorry, is plugged into the output of the crescent. So if you think about it, power and data comes inside the crescent, flows to the crescents, and then goes inside the halos. Right? Goes inside the halos and then flows outside the halos. So if you have a block off plate or if you have any other component you want to connect this to, this is where you connect it to. If you don't have any other component and you only had halos and crescent, I won't even put an output connector on the halo, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, like I said, don't worry about this output of the crescent. So this is the input of the crescent, and this right here is just the excess wire that plugs the halo into the crescent. You can fold this up and tuck it under here. So what we're gonna do next is connect the eyebrow. Okay, so recap, I just took the excess wire under here. So like I said, disregard this wire, you won't have it. Only thing you'll have is wire coming out of the halos. You're gonna have the input of the crescents and the inputs that we routed inside the housing. Remember that female JST? So this is routing inside the headlights. Okay, so when you get this customer has tints on his eyebrows or his whatever. So obviously yours won't look like that. For the sake of showing you, I won't put the housing or the front part on top. I'll just do it up here. So if you remember, the beginning has an input and the end has an output. If I can get it out, right? Okay. So you take the input of the eyebrow, and that's gonna go into here. So remember, this is the female that connected that we routed through the grommets from the housing. So this goes the plugs in here. That's your input. Power is gonna come through here, come out the controller from here, goes through this wire, goes to the eyebrows. Then the output, which is this, is going to plug into the beginning of your crescent. So this is going to plug into here. See? So that's how the circuit goes, if you were to say so. Like I said, let's recap again. The input from here, this comes out of, this is the wire, this is the female JST connector that we routed through the back of the headlight, through the grommet. So they're just hanging there. Take the input wire from the eyebrow, plug that into here, like we said. Then the output of the eyebrow plugs into the input of the crescent. And that's it. Then you just tuck the wires away when you put the front lens on top, and you're good. And the next thing we're going to cover is how you, this wire that's coming from the outside, how you connect this to the 5-pin female connectors. And we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so this is the grommet that we had that's, coming out the headlight. The headlight is already sealed. It's kind of dirty, but that's fine. So don't mind this JST that I have. This for something else. Your build won't have this, so don't mind that. Your build will only have these 3 wires coming out. You remember I put it in loom and I had the wires sticking out. So we have 3 wires. So there's 2 ways you can do this. The first way is use a solder, which is pretty easy. This is my solder. I can leave the link below. Super easy to use. That's one way if you're not comfortable using a solder to solder the connector to the passenger headlight. Another way you can do it is a solder butt connector. All it is this thing, and this will make your life a whole lot easier. So if you don't want to, solder, so all you do is you take this end that'll be sticking outside the headlight, as I described. You're gonna take the other end. Obviously, this is not the connector I showed you in the video. It's another day, but I'm just showing you for reference. It's still gonna have the 3 wires, black, red, and green. I'm gonna twine these up so they look presentable for this. So I'm gonna show you that right now. So we make sure the 3 wires are twined up. The red one isn't really fully twined up, but that's fine. They're twined up, and now I'm gonna slide this sleeve over this. So I'm gonna show you that right now. Okay, it's slid over the sleeve, and now we're gonna twine the white wire is the ground wire. We're gonna twine the ground with the ground on the 5-pin connector, and then I'll show you what to do next. So let's do that real quick. There it is. So the white wire is twined with the black wire, ground to ground. Then we're gonna slide the sleeve over. And the important part is, you see that silver part? Make sure it's dead center. So once that silver part is dead center, we're gonna get our heat gun. We're gonna heat this up. First, we're gonna heat each side. We're gonna heat this side up, heat that side up to make sure the heat shrink tube does its job and make sure it's waterproof. And then we're gonna apply heat to the middle until that melts. And that's gonna give you a solder seal and a waterproof seal. So here we are. I have my heat gun here. It has a little heat wire tool that kind of warps the heat around everything, so I don't have to keep circling it. So with the solder portion in the middle of the wires, turn this heat gun on. If my thing is on, that again, turn this on, and let's pay attention to the center. But first, I'll make sure this section is melted, so that's fine. Next section, make sure that is melted across melted around the black wire. That's fine. And let's put our attention to the middle. And keep heating that until you see start melting. You see that? Okay, that's what you want to see. And you should be good. Yeah, and then you're done. And as you can see, that solder in the center melted and spread itself all over the wires. So now you have a solid connection and a waterproof seal. A lot of people, when they do this, they just melt the ends and they don't apply a lot of heat in the middle, and the solder point never melts, and then they wonder why their connection breaks apart. You got to make sure the solder point in the middle melts. See that? Once you see it start melting, your job's done, and now everything is what it's supposed to be. So this is not breaking apart. So this, you can do this if you don't have a solder or you're not comfortable soldering. This is another alternative. So let's go back to the video, and yeah. To get started, you're gonna get your passenger headlight, which is this one. The passenger headlight is the right headlight. These holes are my breather holes. I have patches to cover them up. This prevents condensation, so don't worry about that. Again, the passenger headlight, again, that's the right headlight, as you can see. And then you're gonna take this connector that I have on the kit, this connector with the white wire, and you're gonna connect the red to red, green to green, and black to white. That's ground, power, and data. Use one of those two methods I showed you, and then you're good. You can wrap it with electrical tape or get more loom to kind of cover the wires to make it look neat, and then we'll go from there. So I'll put these together and then we can go from there. Okay, so I unclipped the zip tie that was holding the turntable wire together. So yeah, I soldered these three wires together and use heat shrink. They're fine. Now I'll put them back in the loom. Like I said again, disregard this wire. This won't be on your build. This is the only thing you'll be worrying about. So obviously it's the 5-pin connector. So now what you can do is either wrap this in electrical tape or get more loom and put it over this so it looks much more clean. So I'll do that real quick, then you'll dive into how you connect to your DRL wire. Okay, we're on the passenger headlight and we have our posi taps. I assume you watched the video on how a posi tap works, so I'll be using it right now. So passenger headlight, all headlights have this connector, has a 8-pin connector with only 7 pins. There's always a missing connector, and that connector is always the 6th pin number. So how you know? Number 1 pin is underneath the single pin. So this is pin 1, this is pin 2, this is pin 3, that's pin 4. That's 1 pin is always pin 5. The empty one is always pin 6, pin 7, pin 8. So we'll be using this to tap into pin 1 and pin 8. Pin 1 is the pin right here, and pin 8 is that right here. And in most cases, it's always the yellow and brown wire. Yellow and brown wire. But don't follow the color, just follow the pin and where the wires come out of. So pin 1 is yellow, it comes out right there. Then pin 8 is brown, and it's right there. So just look where the pin location is to identify the wire. But in most cases, they're yellow and brown. Okay, so we unscrew the gray piece from the posi taps, hook them on yellow and brown wire. Now we're about to screw these into that, and then that's how you tap those wires, and then you have your DRL connection. So for me, I think the best way is unscrew the middle red piece, then screw that piece onto here, make sure it's tight, and then you pull the wires to the tip, crush it in there, and screw it. And yeah, I can't hold the camera at the same time, so I'm gonna have to do it off camera. But that's basically how it is. You put the entrance piece at the very end, make sure the exposed wires are exposed at the tip. You squeeze the wires inside here, and then you screw it together. All right, now we're done. Your build will only have, I forgot to take this section up, but as you can see, I reinforced it with tape. And this branch right here is for something else. Don't worry, you won't have that. You'll only have this. So this will connect to the controller, and you did your DRL connections. And the yellow wire is for your turn signals. The posi tab, like I said, you tap this on your bumper lights, on the red wire for power. That's how you get your turn signal connections. And that's it. You're gonna do the same thing for the driver headlight. Obviously, the driver headlight does not have a DRL connection, so it's easier. You just connect those 3 wires, green, red, white, to the ground, green, and red, and then that's it. And it's gonna look like this, obviously like this. Obviously, the other side doesn't have this, and you're done. Okay, to the driver's side, I soldered the 3 wires to the 5-pin connector, and yeah, we're done. So driver's side, like I said, doesn't have a DRL wire that you have to connect. Just have to do the 3 connectors. And now I'm gonna cover this with loom. Like I said, the turn signal just hangs to connect to the bumper lights, and you won't have this on your build. Just this wire. So I'm gonna wrap everything up and show you the finished product. Okay, real quick, this is the block section. To access that section, it is the block icon at the bottom. You click that and you get to this section. This is the area where you can customize individual LED components. So if you opted for the kit with only the LED components, you will only have section 1 and 2. Section 1 is the eyebrows LED, and section 2 is the crescent LED. If you want more in depth on how do you customize this area, I would recommend watch my video link below that shows you all the steps and tricks and stuff you can do with the block off section. Now, if you understand how to use this area, I would advise you to customize stuff here. So like I said, if you opted for the LEDs, this is how it would look. Section 1 and 2, that's the only sections you will have. Now, if you opted for demonize, now this is how it would look. You will have 3 sections. Obviously, the third section being the demonize. Then if you opted for demonize and halos, you would see you have a 4th section. Obviously, section 1 being eyebrow, section 2 being crescent, section 3 being demonized, and section 4 being halos. And then if you think about it, if you only got halos alone, you will have 3 sections, and that section 3 would be the halos, if you really think about it. But yeah, this screen grab of how each section will look depending on what add-ons you get. So you can come back here, because a lot of people, they mess around with stuff and they, press something by accident and they don't have a screenshot of how it was before. You can come back to this video and use this video as a reference point. So yeah.